All right. Hi, everyone. Good evening and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Tolu and I'm the founder of the HONE NYSC movement. I'm going to speak briefly about what the movement is, why we give time for more people to join, and I'm going to share my screen. All right. So HONE NYSC is a movement that started in 2022. And over the past 3 years, we have successfully impacted the lives of 2,000 plus people, young people, through our flagship programs. And what we do as a movement basically is to create a safe space for young people, precisely core members that are undergoing service. So if you scan the QR code, you see the link to the main stack where you can learn more about our programs and activities that we engage in. This year, we have had two webinars. In January, we had the first webinar where we spoke to core members. I'm sure some of you joined that particular webinar. Some of you did not join that webinar, but whether you joined that one or you're just joining this one, you're welcome regardless. And we had a really beautiful time sharing about ways to maximize service here. So I believe that every season of a young person's life is important, NYSC inclusive. And for me, service year was in 2022 and 2021 and 2022. And that was when I found purpose, really. So using the things I have learned, there were times I felt if someone had told me or if I was better prepared, I would have maximized the opportunity. And I'm helping young people do the same, whether you're serving where you were posted, whether you were redeployed, whether you tried to redeploy and didn't work out, it doesn't really matter at the end. The most important thing is your life matters and you can make the most of NYSC, right? 1 year doesn't have to waste. You don't like the country, that's fine, I get it. But if you're going to serve, you might as well serve well and maximize all the opportunities that you can get while serving. We also had a webinar in partnership with IFE, and we're going to have another one in September here. I think this one was really insightful, and IFE spoke extensively on data analytics, data sorting, and some amazing things. He gave us some prompts, he shared some files with those that registered and attended. And because of how insightful it was, I think the time frame for this particular webinar was about an hour, and we felt there's a whole lot that we can still cover. So we're bringing IFE back again in September, so you can also keep an eye on that. So I'm just going to, okay, I think my screen is pinned, so I can go on. So for today's webinar, it has been designed as sort of like an interactive session. Usually for previous webinars, we've had interactive sessions where people ask questions and get answers. We also had webinars where I just teach and do a presentation, and at the end we have questions and answers. But today I want it to be very interactive. So we're going to look at 4 components. We're going to look at camping, pre-camping and camping. We're going to look at landing a PPA. We're going to look at community development service, and then we're going to look at making 1 year the year that changes your life. So at every point, everybody on the call is going to have the opportunity to drive the conversation. So when we get to a topic, for instance, when we start with pre-camping and camping, you get to ask any question you have that falls under that subtopic, and then I will answer the questions that you have, and then it would lead us maybe to share more tips. We have the slides here, but I really just want it to be interactive and I want it to be led by the people here, so I don't end up saying things and I don't necessarily answer your question. So for the first part of the presentation, we're just going to break down the 4 components of NYSC. NYSC has 4 cardinal points. I think the program has been in existence for over 50 years, maybe 51 or 52, if my calculations are not wrong. And the 4 cardinal points are the orientation, which really starts when your school sends your name, to Senate, and then Senate sends it to NYSC, and then you're asked to log into the portal and put all your details and all those things, and then it begins to feel like, wow, this thing is real. And then the primary phase of assignment, which is where you're going to spend most of your time during the 1 year. Of course, we also have the community development service where you serve the country or you serve the nation. And then we have passing out or winding down, which has to do with your final clearance, ensuring you don't have any disciplinary cases, and finishing well. Like I mentioned, we've had a couple of webinars. So if you check on YouTube for HONE NYSC, I think one of the first things that will pop out is going to be a playlist. So you see videos, replays, and so many things from both the HONE NYSC page and my personal page, my personal Instagram page. It's how to stand out during NYSC is a webinar we had, I think, in partnership with another community. And in this particular video, I took my time to share my own story. So I may not necessarily be able to do that in today's meeting because I want to stick to the 1 hour mark. Okay, so here we are. We're starting with pre-camp and camping questions and answers. So if you have a question, you can unmute and ask. If you don't want to unmute, you can put it in the chat box. So I'm looking forward to seeing your questions. Thank you. Yes, Sadia. I can see your hand up. You can go ahead and unmute.
All right. Good evening, Miss Tulu, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for organizing this because when I saw it on, I think it was a LinkedIn, I believed it was going to be very helpful to me and many people around me that have also finished university and are about to start NYSC. So my main question for today, for this part of the session, rather, is I have not started getting ready for camp, but I know that I will be in stream 2. The dates have been changing, but I know that final dates will be announced very soon. So what are the non-negotiables for me to get ready for NYSC?
All right. Thank you very much, Sadia, for that question. I think that's a question a number of people have. So I'm going to answer it. The first one really is in the documents. When I was preparing to go to camp, which was some years ago, like I mentioned, I went to camp in 2021 ending. We were told to bring about 6 copies of our documents. So your call-up letter, some NYSC letters, then COVID certificate was mandatory. So all the documents that you have to bring now, all the important documents that you have to bring, go with maybe 3 colored copies if you can afford to do 3 colored copies, and maybe 2 black and white, right? That's what I would recommend. And then when it comes to packing, I would say your white tees and your white t-shirts and your white shorts are very important because those are the things that you're going to wear basically throughout. It's like you're in a select church, basically you're wearing white and white throughout. So go with quality tees. I know tees are expensive now. I don't know how much they are now. I think when I was going, they were about the price of 5,000. There were some good brands like Edge and some other brands. So if you can get 2 quality tees, 3 quality tees, it will go a long way for you, honestly. And your shorts. So people sew shorts before going, but NYSC will still give you shorts. So your shorts should just be at about knee level. So if you're making shorts, make them just sew them to be at about knee level, because in my own camp, I camped in Kwara State. If the shorts you brought were too long, they will seize them and insist that you wear the one that NYSC gives you. And then the one NYSC gives you is very transparent, right? And also NYSC is going to give you some tees, but they're not very strong in terms of quality, and they're also very transparent. And because you're going to be outside most of the time, you don't want to have to wear maybe a black inner wear and then wear a white top again. So just invest in your quality tops. That's what I would say for that. Your toiletries are very important, and I would say snacks. So I think there's something I need to say. Many people will say things like, oh my God, NYSC this, NYSC that. And when I go to camp, I'm not going to eat camp food. Well, I mean, the recent videos I have been seeing, it's just a reminder that people are hungry, right? Because the queues for camp food are a lot. So please go with your snacks. If you love cereal, go with cereal. If you don't love cereal, go with biscuits, because when you're a hungry person, everything tastes good in your mouth. That's just one thing I'll tell you. So go with snacks as much as possible. It would help you save costs because camp is so think of camp as an estate, an isolated estate, and then within the estate you have a market, usually called Mami Market, where you go to buy things. So the price of things in the market are a little bit higher than what they would be outside the estate. But because there is less competition, of course, scarcity would help increase the demand of things. So, as if you're someone that wants to eat, go with as many snacks as you can go with. That I will highly recommend. NYSC would tell you not to go with medication. However, I highly recommend if you're a female that has menstrual cramps, please go with your medication. If you know you have the tendency to fall sick, that's have malaria, please go with your malaria meds. If you have any other health condition and you know, okay, I will try to leave camp, but just in case it doesn't work, I'm going to be in camp for a while, please go with your medications because medications finish a lot. And then things for you can say anti-stool medication because whether you eat in mommy or you eat normal food or you eat NYSC food or you eat your snacks, you're a human being and you're going to have to go to the restroom, right? So your medications will definitely come in handy, and somewhere somehow you may eat something that will make you stool. So things like flagyl, tetracycline are things that I did not play with when I was going to camp. And I also went with a cream. I don't remember what cream it was. So you can go with like a Back A because of course it's very easy to have infection. Some camps may not necessarily have access to running water easily. Like my camp, we had a tanker bring water into camp maybe twice or thrice in a day. So if you decide if you want to wake up early and hustle for water, you wake up, hustle for water, you bathe in the morning. Some people don't bathe in the morning, they only bathe at night because the water supply is very limited. So also finding out information when you know where you've been posted to, right, is important. And then the reason I put emphasis on where you've been posted to is sometimes we plan when it comes to life and then it doesn't always go the way you want it to go. So you can say, oh, I want to get posted to camp A, I walk into camp A, I know 7 people in camp A, and I do everything to end up in camp A, and then eventually I end up in camp B. So regardless of what situation you're in, you still have to serve. So that's that. And then if you're someone that wants to read, you can go with books. I went with 3 books to camp. I finished reading 2 cover to cover, and I was reading the 3rd one. I had a plan for NYSC before everything started, right from camping. So that was it for me. Also, there were 2 men that sold books in camp, so it was an opportunity for me to get quality book at discounted rates. Books I wanted to get, like The Art of War. I could place an order for it, and then in 2 days' time, I would go and meet the vendor and pick my book. So I think those really are the most important things: having your documentation, having your bed sheet and beddings, things to make you feel comfortable. They will sell buckets, so you don't necessarily have to travel with buckets and whatnot. But basic toiletries, your soap, maybe detergent, a bar soap. You may not necessarily have to wash. If you can pay a laundry person to do that for you, but of course you have to wash your undies by yourself, so you definitely need that. I hope that helped, Sadia. Does any other person have any question related to camp and the camping experience for me?
Yes, that was very, very helpful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So do we have any other question related to pre-camp and then the camping experience? Can we move on? If we can move on, please give me a thumbs up so I know we are free to go to the next thing. Okay, thank you. All right, so I'm going to speak briefly on that. Let me see. All right. I used to say this a lot: heal from identity crisis. There's always something to heal from, right? Before you go to camp, whether it's the fact that life has happened to you because of a certain background you came from, whether it's academic, family background, whatever. And then you have to define your journey. Some people are going to camp to get spouses, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to get married. And everybody's bashing everybody on Twitter because of marriage, but there's really nothing wrong with that. So if a 30-something-year-old is going, and then their whole mind is, yeah, I'm going to find wife, I'm going to find husband. And you are 21, your own goal for going may not necessarily be marriage. That's why you have to define the journey for yourself and know what you want from it. Of course, carry God on the journey, network in camp, have fun in camp, and if possible, be active in camp. The activities you can participate in, things like OBS, different squads, volunteer, be active. You can decide to be a platoon leader. There are different things you can do. Red Cross, then there was COVID Vanguard, maybe people that volunteer in sanitation to help pick bottles. There are different things you can do in camp. So please pay attention and volunteer when necessary. There may be a time, depending on your camp and the demand, where they will ask for people with maybe background in mathematics, people that have skills in data analytics. Those things come in handy. So if you have any of those skills, keep your ears on the ground for when they announce them during the morning prayers. Yes, when they announce them during the morning prayers, because what they usually call them to do is to help sort the application, and that can help you get a good placement. Being active in sports, I mean, sometimes just for the fun of it, but also it's a great way to network, and it can help you get a good placement, because the sports CDS is usually in the state capital, right? Also, the OBS CDS, which is, I think, editorial or something, is also in the state capital. So if you're saying, for instance, I don't want to get posted to a village, chances of getting posted to the capital can be slim based on competition. But the activities you can do in camp that increases your chances. But among everything you do, know what you want from the experience and have fun. So these are pictures from my camping experience. I met some amazing people that finished school with me. I mean, I had people from primary school, nursery school, secondary school, university. So it was beautiful to just meet everybody in Kwara State. I was in Plateau 7, and I tried to learn and try to play volleyball. So yeah, that went well. And my team won. We won award. I tried to do a whole man of war thing. I mean, I couldn't do all the activities, but I had fun, and then I also joined OBS. So have fun in camp. Okay, we're getting into the second one now. So questions regarding getting a PPA. I think you should ask questions for this one. You can type, you can unmute, you can raise your hand. Questions regarding getting a PPA. I'm not seeing any hand. I'm not seeing anybody typing. Yes, please go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, good afternoon, Toby. Good evening, I've been hearing people having like a fixed PPA already, like, okay, I have my PPA in mind. Okay, if I get posted to Oyo State, I already have a PPA in mind, things like that. But what if by some means or some issues I couldn't get posted to where I was intending to? What do you think I should put in ground during my camping days to get a good PPA at the end of? Because I don't have plans for where I was posted to. Now I'm posted to a place that I was not planning for. So what are things that I should do during my camping days to get a good PPA in mind?
All right, thank you very much for that question. I think that's a very good question, and I think one of the things that made me cry one time while I was serving was this. It was just like, if somebody told me, I would have gotten a better PPA, my life would have been better, and etc. Right? So the first thing is, I'm going to explain what a primary place of assignment is. A primary place of assignment is a job that core members do and core members are posted to during service year. So the difference between your primary place and assignments and a normal job is, usually core members do not apply for their primary place of assignment. It is given to them. However, I think in the situation of batch A stream 2, you guys are lucky with the change of date, so it's easier for you to handle that. So what happens is in the states, for instance, maybe FCT, Enugu State, Akwa Ibom State, whatever state, at the NYSC State Secretariat, there are a list of organizations that are registered with NYSC where core members are needed, are posted to. So there's another question here I'm going to take together. What are some helpful ways of getting a good PPA? So thank you, Promise. I'm taking everything together, right? Where core members are posted to. So if an organization is not listed with NYSC, the organization does not say NYSC, we need core members. Chances are core members are not going to get posted to that organization. So the first thing really is understanding this organization I want to work with. So for instance, if you say I want to get posted to Enugu, I'm hoping to get posted to Enugu State, and this is the PPA I'm looking for in Enugu. Or maybe your situation is you wanted to get posted to Enugu State. You didn't end up in Enugu State. You're in maybe Lagos State, and you're in camp, but you're saying, okay, I want to work in a particular establishment. The first thing you want to ask yourself or to know is to reach out to your organization and find out, okay, is this organization listed on the NYSC database? That's the first. The second thing, if the organization is listed, you have to do the normal procedure. So for instance, in some situations, you may see, and it happens in different ways, you may see organizations saying, oh, we are looking for core members that will start in a batch ahead. So if you're about to start and you go through the recruitment process, the organization likes you, what happens is they keep in touch. So when you get your state code will be given to you when you get your call-up letter, right? And then your platoon letter, your state code will be given to you in camp, right? Because the last number on your state code is going to be your platoon number. So if your state code ends with 7, then your platoon is going to be platoon 7. If your state code ends with 1, your platoon is going to be platoon 1. So what happens is the organization takes your state code, writes to the NYSC State Secretariat and say, oh, I want core member so and so with state code this to be posted to my organization. So that's what happens. So most of the time when there's a mismatch between core members already communicating with employees and the core member does not get posted directly, maybe it's because the organization in question submitted the details of the core member late. I said all this to say your PPA does not have to be left to chance. You can decide on where you want to work and be intentional and proactive about getting that place to work. Now, most of the time, what usually happens is, depending on the batches. So, for instance, I mean, of course, the calendar has changed a couple of times. Batch A, stream 1, or maybe batch C in this case, because batch C went earlier in the year, right? Batch C core members may be posted at a time where the government agencies are vacant. So when batch C members are posted when government agencies are vacant, it means, okay, by the time batch A is coming, they may not get posted to government agencies. So batch A may end up in schools and maybe private institutions. So the batch and the stream you're in also affects the likelihood of the kind of posting that you're going to get based on the calendar and the vacancies. And back to what I was saying, what happens is most of the time NYSC has already done the posting, and when they've done the posting, maybe you now see you got another PPA, which is where the hard part is. The part basically is the organization you got posted to. So for instance, let's say I got posted to a marketing firm, or I wanted to get posted to a marketing firm. They have my details. They're happy to have me serve with them. They're ready to welcome me. But they sent my details late to NYSC. And now I got posted to a school, and I know I want a marketing firm. It's going to pay me better. It's in line with my career path. The hard part is I need to convince the school management, whether it's the principal, it's the owner of the school, it's the headmistress, to reject me. So NYSC will give you your posting letter, and then down there's a place where they will accept or reject, and then you go back to your local government. So that's where the hard part is, because most of the time the schools or the second PPA in question does not want to reject the core member, especially if you're a good person. They say, oh, we need mathematics teacher. We've never had a mathematics teacher before. In fact, we've been praying to God for 7 years. You're the first mathematics teacher that NYSC is sending. God has answered our prayer. So yeah, that's where the problem comes up. And then in some situation, they will tell you, that's fine. will allow you to go, but then you go and look for another corper that is good, that can teach the mathematics or the physics to take that particular course or subject. So that's where the mismatch usually happens. Here I have another question, but I hope that helps. I think the two people that answered, let me know if that helps. Esther here says, good evening. Please, what if you have a request letter? Does it mean I need to confirm first with the organization of school I have their request letter on the NYSC list, or can I submit? It depends again. But I think if I'm being honest, let me say it depends on favor, right? In life, there's always you're welcome promise. There's always a hint of favor. People call it luck, but it really depends on favor and maybe your interpersonal skill. Because if I have a letter from an organization and I take it to camp, many people are coming with letters. So do you mean that the NYSC officials are going to sit down and be looking at everybody's letter and say, okay, this one said post me to organization A in LGI XYZ. This one said, I mean, that's a lot of work. If I'm a staff, it's a lot easier for me to just do my thing on the system as opposed to taking my time to do it. So if that situation happens, it's really good if your what's it called? It's really good if your organization works on the back end to play their part well. If your organization plays their part well and then you have a acceptance letter from the organization telling you you've been accepted, it becomes easy. I'm still going to speak about when you get rejected and all that, because trust me, this definitely has a lot of explanation and a couple of processes involved. Okay, here we have Ifeoluwa. Good evening. What of in case of relocation? How do you get it good? So I think it's still the same thing, right? If you're relocating, the question you ask yourself is, where do I want to work? And then you get accepted. So let me explain the process, because I was in a situation where I got rejected. I mentioned earlier I was in OBS. I was active. OBS went well. OBS was beautiful. By default, I was supposed to be in the editorial team as CDS, but I decided not to do that. I wanted to do NCG CDS instead. And my PPA from camp, when I got my letter, in fact, I was shook because I had seen maybe like 20 or 50 people, one school. When I got my letter, I was posted to NTA in Lorin. And of course, it was in the capital. NTA was sharing friends with ShopRite. It was beautiful. It was everything that you wanted. I wanted, really. But then when I got there, the reaction I got was really, can you speak Yoruba? I can't speak Yoruba, honestly. No. And then, did you study English or mass communication? I didn't study any of those courses. So it's like, okay, why are they posting somebody with industrial physics background to come to NTA? And the person that, I think the owner, or how do I say, the manager of the station already signed the acceptance for me. But the person I was going to work directly with had like a bias towards, because of my background. And then when I got that feedback, I was not comfortable, because I don't want to be in a place where I'm judged before I even get the opportunity to try or to learn, right? And the lady came in and said, is it okay if we reject you? And I was like, that's fine. And in fact, they were apologizing. They were very nice, right? That was my situation. So they rejected me. And then I went to the local government secretariat. So state secretariat and local government secretariat in most situations are different depending on where your local government secretariat is situated. So I asked, they showed me where the local government secretariat was. I entered public transport. I went there. And then when I got there, they told me to write a letter. So there are a couple of templates in the NYSC LGI's office. I sat down, I bought a plain sheet of paper, and then I wrote the rejection letter. Now, in this case, if I had another PPA, so if I knew, okay, yeah, they rejected me from NTA, but I wanted to work maybe in a farm, and the farm I wanted to work in has accepted me, what I do is I go to my local government, write the rejection, show them the official rejection, and go with the acceptance. So they document on the back end, and they post me directly to the farm. Do you understand? So also knowing where you want, like I said, and being proactive comes in handy. Now, because it was my first time in Kwara State, I didn't know anybody. And me and my NYSC journey, I already told God at the beginning, like, it's me and you in this thing. It's not luck, like, it's me and you. And then after a while, I was waiting. My LGI came out and we spoke. She was whining me, fine girl, and all those things. And she asked me what happened. I said I was rejected. And she was like, oh, where do you want to? I was like, I actually wanted to teach. So I told her I want to work in a school. And she said, schools have been looking for people, because a lot of people had had been rejected. So there were a lot of people that could not speak English and were posted to schools, and schools were really looking for STEM teachers, mathematics, physics, and all those things. So a while later, I checked my portal maybe 30 minutes later, and I got redeployed or reallocated to a school. So I saw the number of the principal. I called, and he said, "Oh, he's not around, but he'll be back in this time. I should do this, do this." And then I got to a filling station. I waited for the principal. He picked me there, and I went to the school. So that was it, really. So if you get rejected, yes. But even if you get accepted, you still have to go back to the LGI to inform. So if you get a PPA and everything goes fine, you get accepted, you have to submit an acceptance letter to the LGI for them to know at the back end that, okay, this person has gotten a place. But I think a tip I'm going to share is, regardless of how your PPA is or where you get as an initial PPA, you can change your PPA, I think up to 3 times during service year when necessary. The reason why most people do not do it, and the reason why it's not common knowledge, is because getting a job, moving places, getting a job and having to move and go back to LGA and all those things, transportation is money, and it can be mentally draining. But if you start early, then I think good for you. So I think that I have said a lot about PPA. If you have any other questions, please let me know, but I will just share some tips about PPA, and let me know. If you have any other questions, you can put them in the chat and I'll see them while I'm speaking. So I think the first one really is apply before service begins. So do your research, right? And do your research. You're welcome. Do your research, apply. You can send a cold email, you can send message to recruiter. That's why I said you have to define your journey from the beginning. So 3 weeks in camp is enough reason for you to, or enough time for you to do your research and say, oh, I'm working in maybe the engineering field. I would like to work in an engineering firm, even if it's research or a chemical engineering plant or pharmaceuticals or something that has an element of engineering, right? So do your research, send cold emails, leverage relationships and access. So I think this one is important. Who is the maybe CDS president, or who are people that have served before? Who are people that have served before? What kind of PPAs did they get? Is there anybody that got a good PPA, and how can I? Things are changing and there are more opportunities than before. So when I served in Ilorin, there wasn't really any preference for STEM and STEM professionals or a place for people with engineering backgrounds. But I think a year after, yes, because we had some people from the HONE NYSC community that got posted to Ilorin, and I saw them before I left. They had that community. So the people that were engineers were posted to, like similar organizations, and they even had maybe an association, which was like their CDS for engineers. And I think that was amazing. And I think it was funny because later on I found out that there was a chemical engineering plant. And I think last year, someone that participated in one of our webinars got posted to that chemical engineering plant. She had a chemical engineering background. So information is important. Sometimes you can do your normal search on Google, and Google will tell you, this state is civil service state. The only thing that is here is bank. So don't just take it at face value. There's always some place, there's always something good. Do your research, carry God on the journey. Yeah, and you can always change your PPA. So if you get to a place you're not treated well, you can change your PPA. That's something to note. And I think I need to emphasize this. So you're not in a situation where you have to be overbearing and endure. And when you're getting towards the end of service year, your bandwidth of endurance expires and things kaboom in the wrong direction. So yes, and if you get rejected, follow due process, right? I think if you get rejected, follow due process. Don't be so much in a hurry to report to the LGI, but don't take so long to report. So there's a balance to that. I've seen situations where people were rejected from a PPA and then they didn't have a PPA for over 6 months. And I'm wondering, how did you do clearance? I mean, in some cases or in some states, some things may be permissible depending on the nature of the person that's your local government inspector, right? But in some states, it can be difficult. So I'm coming to the comment section. My school was interesting. I mean, it was hectic. I'm not going to lie to you. People have a mindset towards core members where they see core members as lesser people. So it's like you're a human being, but they don't think you've done anything to deserve being treated like a graduate. So they just try to treat you less. And I meant that in terms of compensation. The school I thought was a private school, and it was in a very small community. So the parents of the children found it difficult to pay school fees, which also meant staffs were paid poorly. All core members taught an average of 3 courses or more. I taught mathematics, physics, further maths to SS 1 to 3 students. It was hectic. In compensation, my school gave me 5,000 naira monthly. Yes, that's what they did as compensation. But my students were amazing, and I have kept in touch with my students since I left. A number of them are in university and they are doing well, and I think that's very important to me. Before I went there, they didn't have a mathematics teacher for I think an entire session. So yeah, and I'm the first female mathematics teacher they had. So it was very funny. There were certain days we had to, just speak about gender roles. There were times it was a beautiful experience. That's what I would say. It was a beautiful experience. For other people, of course, it could have been a better experience, right? But for some other people, it could have been a sad experience. So that's what I would say. There's a question here. If I want a medical need to volunteer in camp, so I think I'm going to take it in two perspectives. If you have a medical background or you feel, oh, I'm an empath, sure, you can always volunteer for Red Cross, right? If somebody faints and you don't have strength to carry them, you can just be telling them it's okay. There's always something you can do in camp. Trust me. There's always something. I think at some point you're going to hear what some people are doing in camp and you're like, oh, that option is there. That's possible. Nobody told me that. But yeah, you can also check. I think I have a mini vlog. We did cultural day together at my PPE. That's on my private YouTube page. You can check that out. And I have spoken about my NYSC experience extensively in a book because it was funny. When you're going through NYSC, you're also going through life. So there are situations where we experience the loss of parents, people dying. There were different things that happened. Yeah. So it was a lot. I have a book coming up later this year. You can also keep an eye on that. So it really just covers everything. It's a lot of story, and because of time, cannot take that. This question says, can you list and explain different organizations to join at camp? So I spoke about this earlier, and honestly, I don't know all of them because it varies per camp based on the available resources. But now I hear there's SDG CDS that is active in most camps and actually starts in camp. So maybe people that join that side or something end up in that CDS, right? So there are some CDS group or coalitions that people volunteer for in camp and then they end up as CDS. But popular ones really, you have OBS, I think the drumming something, I don't know what it's called. Is it drumming or musical or whatever? There's something anyway for that. There was sanitation. During COVID, we had COVID Vanguard, ensuring that people wear face masks, wash their hands. There are different things. So what I'll say is keep your ears on the ground, ask questions, and be proactive, right? And I'm sure, yes, Band. Thank you so much for Ishayo, Band. Okay, so this one is just to give an overview. Because of time, I'm not going to dwell on this. Your university degree is actually very valid for 2 years and it expires after then. So it does not mean that after 2 years you have to throw your degree away. It just means after 2 years, people expect that you have some form of experience, right? And NYSC is a full-time 1-year experience. So regardless of what you do or where you're posted, writing a CV really dwells with taking the transferable skills from your 1-year experience and putting it on your CV. We have a free CV writing course. It comes with a 15-minute video that helps you write any experience you have in this world. It helps you to put that in a CV. And it comes with 5 editable templates. And I think there are a couple of articles also. So you can check the HONE NYSC main stack. Favor will help put that link. And that will come in handy. So for core members, recruitment might look like normal recruitment. Recruitment might not necessarily be normal recruitment. So just keep an eye open for that. On the HONE NYSC Spotlight last year, we had someone share his experience. he got a PPA and he got it as a graduate. So he wasn't treated as a core member. He was paid the normal salary people for that particular role will get paid for. So I think really there's a balance, right, in saying I am a core member. Know when I am a core member is a key that opens a door, and then know when I am a core member can be a disadvantage depending on the context. And when it's an advantage, then please shout it and be vocal. I am a core member. And then when it's an advantage, remember you're a graduate, right? It helps and it comes in very handy in negotiation. Many people just think, oh, core members and maybe 77K, even if they've not paid for a while, right? But they are yet to pay. So just, oh, they earn 77K, they are not really working for the money, so why should I pay them well? I mean, people can be wicked, but in a situation where you can, get a good job, negotiate well, based on your skill, based on your competence, please do it. You're not too small. You're not too small once you are competent. Okay, back to the comment segment. This one is asking, how can I send a cold email to HR? Most of them don't get ready to read it. So on LinkedIn, when you're sending a message, or when you're about to send a connection to someone, you can send an email. So really just make it as concise as possible. Ensure your profile is optimized and send a message. And then like the name implies, cold email, you may not also necessarily get a message or a feedback, which can be discouraging. But when it comes in handy, you may be considered. So practical example, this one was for an internship. When I was trying to get an undergraduate internship, I submitted an application to an organization and I did not hear from them for over 4 months. And then after 4 months, they sent me an email together with some other people, right? And they were like, oh, we are recruiting for interns now, so come for this. So maybe at the moment when you're sending, they may not have a vacancy for core member, but when they do, they'll remember your message. Or they may not necessarily reply, but they may recommend you to someone else. So the not getting a response, the silence should not deter you from going ahead to shoot your shots. And please do it professionally and respectfully. And you can even just do it publicly. You can say, oh, I'm a core member, I'm a prospective core member, I'm supposed to be in this batch, and then you can decide to do maybe a 20-30-day countdown or challenge where you post about your skills and the things you can do. For just be consistent about it. It really depends on the way you choose to sell yourself, right? And when you get posted, you announce it. I've been posted here over the past 20 days. I have shared this. This is my portfolio. Is there an organization looking for? The way people will rush you, you probably won't even be in that situation where you're posted, you have to renegotiate and beg them to reject you, because then they see value. So sometimes it's really about communication of value, because people lie a lot on their CV, and when you bring them in, it's like, I'm wasting my time in recruitment. So be bold, be audacious, and competently and confidently communicate your value. Yes, Favor.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I just wanted to touch light on the cold emailing thing to encourage it can be really stressful and frustrating, but if there's one thing I've learned through my experience in the past 4 months is just keep at it. You never can know the one that they are going to reply. So there was this code email I sent January 10th and I got a response, I think March ending, and I had to write an aptitude test, even though I failed the aptitude test, but at least it's joy in my heart that, oh, I did this and it worked. So just continue. You never can know which one of your emails is going to work. And it might not even be now. It might be after NYSC or close to the end of NYSC that you get a call from someone and it will come in handy for you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Favor. That's very important. So cast your net in the waters, right? And it would catch as many fishes as possible. All right, I think we spent a lot on PPA, of course, because PPA is important, work is important. I think we have a small segment on CDS. Oh, that's great. Promise, please feel free to share. If you have the link, you can put it here, right? Let me see if I can pin Favor's message. If I think there's a way you can pin your message, the last message you shared, please find a way to pin it. And then, yeah, promise, if you can share that on the call, that's fine. If you can't share it here, you can share with us and we can share to everyone that registered for this particular webinar. Or if you're on the what's it called? If you're on the community, the Telegram community, not the channel, if you're on the Telegram community, you can just go ahead and share it, referencing this webinar. In one of the comments where you have this, banner for the webinar, just go ahead and share it. So some key resources that we have at the moment that I would recommend are how to stand out during service year. I mean, there are webinars, async graduate training. Yes, this will help you prepare for work and also life after work. Recently, I did a 5 or 6 part interview series with someone that got into the NNPC graduate training program. So if you've never really gone through, like an intensive recruitment, it breaks down everything, right? You can decide to pace yourself and watch it. I think overall we spent about 3 hours filming. Yeah, so you can pace yourself and watch those videos. It will come in handy. Then when we started the HONE NYSC community, we had a couple of videos and webinars back to back. Video qualities are not necessarily all the best, but you can clearly hear the audios and they still carry value. So you can also binge watch the playlist. And we have this short video we did recently speaking about community development service. And then NYSC for global relevance is also another thing. Okay, let's dive into community development service, and I'll still touch on some of these resources and other things later. Okay, so we're taking questions on CDS now. I mean, at the end, if we still have questions on PPA, we can come back to that. But do we have questions regarding community service? Whether it's group CDS, you want to do an individual CDS, you're not sure if you should do an individual CDS. Any questions, please put them in the message. You can raise your hand and you can speak as well. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I think the main program of the community development service, if I'm right, I think it's not actually clear. What does it entails? What do you have to do? Like the idea of that CDS in my brain is like doing something to develop the community that you are doing your PPA. Who is going to sponsor it? Where are you going to get funding? How does it go actually? Like that.
All right, thank you very much. So I'm going to answer your question, and then there's another question from Faye Shayo about how does a personal CDS work. So when you're in camp, there's this activity that happens. It's called side, right? Where you're supposed to learn a skill, and they have classes that make you sleep very well for some reason, right? And then you have different CDS groups, and like I mentioned earlier, different teams. So if you're very active in sports, you play football so well, chances are you may end up in sports CDS and have the opportunity to train and represent your state. So think of community development service as 2 things. 1, an avenue for core members to bond, and then 2, an avenue for core members to give back to Nigeria by developing Nigeria. So the idea really is there are different groups, like I mentioned, depending on your state and the resources available in the state. The CDS group in Kaduna can be different from the number of CDS groups in Lagos State, right? And then for CDS groups, it gives you 1 week public holiday, something like that. So you're expected usually to have CDS meeting at least once a week. In some CDS groups, in some states, depending on the context, it may be twice in a week or it may be once in a month, depending, like I mentioned, on how wide your CDS is. So for instance, if the state secretariat or, for instance, the Ministry of Education building is in the western part or the central part of the state, most likely core members that have their PPA around that central region, core members that have their PPA around that local government are more likely to get posted to that CDS because it's around their locality. Do you understand? So CDS is not going to say, okay, oh, you are in Imo State, your CDS location is going to be in Owerri. Most of the time that doesn't happen during hosting. So for CDS groups, like I mentioned, they have periodic times when they meet. They will have a CDS president, they would have a WhatsApp group, and there would be an NYSC staff that is like your focal person basically. So you people will have meetings and then you people will discuss on what you want to do. For instance, like me, I was in SDG CDS and we met every Thursday. So your employee already knows that you're a core member. Every Thursday is your CDS. So ideally, you're not expected to come to work on Thursdays. But again, like I mentioned, negotiation is important. There are situations where core members, actually not supposed to go to work maybe on Thursdays or Fridays, but their employees are like, oh, you have to go to CDS and come to work. So that one you have to put your foot down for it. So CDS meetings may be just an hour or 2 hours majority. Of course, they will take attendance and then they will speak. So maybe things like road safety, they can say, okay, this day road safety is coming to talk to road safety CDS. So road safety people will come, they will talk to you people, and then they say, okay, next week we are doing project. The project is all of you in that CDS will go to one place and you people will learn to use road sign. That could be CDS for road safety. CDS for SDG CDS could be, okay, we need to do something. What are we going to do? Somebody will say, we need to do something for orphanages. People are suffering. Another person will say, we need to do something for women. Women need to be empowered in Nigeria. Another person will say, we need to do something for people in the IDP camp. So you people will talk, you people will negotiate, you people will agree in your meeting. You will not say, okay, when are we going to do it? We're going to do it at the last CDS meeting of the month. They will say, okay. They will not say, okay, to donate to the orphanage, we are 100 people in this CDS. Everybody should donate 500 so that we'll use it to buy gifts. The executives will buy gifts, and then so and so day you meet in the CDS, you encourage the people in the CDS, you play with the children, and you make the donation. So that's literally what CDS is. For sports CDS, of course, it would vary. For drama, it would vary. I know they used to have a lot of drama competition where they do interstate competition and core members have to travel and they get cash prizes. So let me just say for CDS in the creative part or line, it varies. I think there's like a tech CDS in Lagos where they went to teach students coding or something. So every CDS they go and teach them how to code in C#, C++, Python, HTML, whatever that is, So yeah, the activities in CDS varies depending on the CDS, depending on the frequency, depending on the leadership, and also depending on the leadership of maybe the local government inspector in charge, and then the state coordinator. Some states will tell you, every month, you people must do one CDS. So if you like, do 4 meetings in a month. It does not consign them. At the end, your president must submit report and tell you how you helped the community. So yes, a lot of the time, the funding is usually donation-led. And then CDS are opportunities for people to talk to core members. So like what I'm doing with HONE NYSC, if I want to talk to core members and I don't want to go to camp, I can partner with the CDS and say, oh, please, can I come and take 5 minutes to talk to core members and tell them, HONE NYSC has a program, we want you to benefit. Or core members, you need to take certificates. If you don't have certificate, they will not employ you. Do you know that if you have certificate, they will employ you? So yeah, I go and sell my market, right? All those side people will come to CDS too and sell their market as well. So that's what a CDS is really. I hope that answers your question. Okay, while you're responding, great. I'm going to answer Shayo's question. I think the idea of wanting to do his personal CDS is a great one. And I have spoken extensively with people that have successfully implemented personal CDS. So the first thing really I'm going to say is have a conversation with your local government inspector. Go and visit them, sit down with them and say, Sama, I want to do a personal CDS. How do I go about it? Now, I like to say there are 2 ways to do it. You can do a personal CDS that is recognized by, recognized by NYSC, where you have the opportunity to be, recommended for the local government state inspector award and later the national award. I think it's one of the best ways to become a national honoree, right? By doing a personal CDS. And you can just do a personal CDS as in, I want to do charity. Maybe I have a foundation. I just like children. I just want to partner and donate pads to school girls. And then NYSC does not necessarily recognize that. So for you to do an NYSC that is recognized by a CDS that's recognized by NYSC, you have to go through your local government inspector. So you sit down, talk to them, and then say, oh, I want to do a personal CDS. You share your idea, or you tell them you don't have an idea. What problems do you think you can solve? And I think that's exciting and important. because I've seen situations where there's a mismatch. People are passionate about something, they want to implement a project, and then the local government inspector does not consider what you want to do as a meaningful project or as an impactful project. They don't maybe believe in that. Maybe you want to talk to people about climate change. And then they're looking, they don't understand. Maybe your local government inspector does not understand. And he's like, what is climate change? How does that impact the life of anybody? So in that situation, your project may not be approved. That's why it's important to have that conversation. There may be situations also where people have said, oh, I want to solve a problem, and you go and try to solve a problem for the community, and what you're solving, the community does not see it as a problem. So yes, speaking with your local government inspector, and then they will usually give you a guide, which is like a template, and tell you write your proposal, maybe think of how you want to fund it, try and get a donor, all those things. Now, I spoke to someone that implemented a project last year and was recognized for State Coordinators Award. And something she said struck me. She said interpersonal skill came in handy. And I think most people I have seen, honestly, that have implemented successful projects, they made the decision to implement them before they started service here. Right. So interpersonal skill, she kept going back to, lobby and say, oh, sir, have they approved it? Have they approved it? So after a while, her project was approved. And there are people go to camp 6 times in a year. So you have to be proactive so that your approval is not on somebody's table and they are away for 3 weeks. And by the time they come back, they have to do one national assignment. And by the time they are supposed to be back on their seat, another batch is in camp. So interpersonal skill comes in very handy if you want to implement a successful personal project. So after a while, they approved her project. And when they approved her project, she said something. She said the NYSC state office gave her a letter. So that letter made it easier for her to raise funds. She could now go to maybe donors before and say, Tolu, I want to implement this project. NYSC has approved, please support. And she saw a change in the body language of people, right, towards the implementation. And then you go ahead, you implement your project. And if it's something that requires commissioning, so project days may be different, but you have to communicate early. So for instance, if your personal CDS is you want to do a training for young people, or you want to do a debate and award children, you want children to be happy, of course, you have to plan for media, photography, and all those things. It could be just another core member volunteering to do that, right? But also, you need to communicate with your LGI and say, okay, the debate is happening on so and so day. So that date, they will pick it as the date of the commissioning. The LGI will now inform the state coordinator. So if the state coordinator is not there to commission the project, which is like keynote speaker, she would probably send someone. Now, if you do a project like you install a borehole in a community, you also have to inform them and say, okay, the date I have picked for commissioning is this date. Your LGI will check back with state coordinator. If the state coordinator is not available, they say, okay, we think you should move it to this date, or we think you should move it to this date. But ideally, core members are supposed to complete commissioning and post-project documentation of their projects, I think at least 2 weeks before passing out, right? It comes in very handy 2 weeks before passing out. Is it 2 weeks or 2 months? I think I'm mixing that up. But maybe 2 weeks or at least a month before passing out. So you can't wake up and say 1 month you're passing out that you want to implement a project. For anybody thinking, or maybe you're like, I'm not sure if here's what I'm going to say. If you have the opportunity to do something for a community, by community, I don't mean one or your state's community, Ibadan, not central community, no. I mean a small community, a small group of people. Please go ahead and do it, right? Go ahead and implement your project. Don't overplan, don't overanalyze, and don't be scared to ask for help. Work in teams so you can be the person in charge, and then you can have maybe 2 other core members that are willing to volunteer, maybe in terms of media, in terms of doing other things. It's very important and it comes in handy. For my situation, I was very keen on implementing a personal CDS as a core member. I mean, it was on my goal, it was on my vision board, it was everything I wanted to do. And then I wanted to raise funds, which is where people also experience problems. I wanted to raise funds, but I did not want to crowdfund. So crowdfund is when you say, I'm doing something, donate 2K, donate 1K, donate 5K. I didn't want to ask people for money. I wanted to apply for grants and get it. And I did, but it cost me that project implementation. So by The first quarter of 2023, I got 20 rejection emails. My grant proposals were not flying. People did not want to fund. I reached out to organizations. I got positive feedback. I learned a lot about finance anyway during that time. Towards the end of my service year, I had gotten over 50 rejections, and most of them came because I was applying for grants. And I learned a lot about grant application. Now, eventually, I got a grant that could fund my project, 1,000 USD. However, that funding came 2 weeks to my POP. So I'm looking at the funding and then I'm hearing come for final clearance. So it was painful because, of course, I could not do what I wanted to do in that ground because I was over analyzing, over planning, over I don't want to ask for help, but I want help kind of thing. Did I implement the project? Yes, I did. I implemented it in Kwara State after my service year. So please don't overanalyze, don't overplan. We're currently working on a guide with help from other people that have successfully implemented personal CDS. It will be free and made available when we're done with that, whether it's grants templates, how to crowdfund, and whatnot. And part of the things HONE NYSC is hoping to do in subsequent years as we grow is to implement personal CDS. So to be able to fund or support core members to implement personal CDS. At the moment, we are not necessarily able to do that, but we can help provide technical support. So if you want to implement a personal CDS, please reach out. I think last week or 2 weeks ago, someone sent me a message on LinkedIn. I was like, oh, it's 2 weeks to my POP and I want to do something. I know I really want to do something. And I had to ask, if you just want to go ahead and do it, that's fine. It's very easy. But if you want to ensure that this thing is recognized by NYSC and maybe recognized by the government, then in 2 months, it's really easy gamble. And the reason I shared all this is because when we say HONE NYSC, we really mean HONE NYSC. So if you are in the rural community, make the most of all the opportunities in the rural community, make the most of the serenity, connect well with the community leader. If you're in the urban community, attend all the physical events that you can that will add to your personal development, right? Make the right friends, make the right network, even from being in camp, because we all come in handy. I've seen situations where people try to be in the urban community and even working with maybe 3 people to 3 different agents to redeploy. They ended up in the rural community. And after fighting, they're like, it's okay, I'm going to stay in the rural community. Then they're like, okay, I want to do a project. And then they're like, okay, who is going to rep? I cannot rep. Do you know the stress it takes to do all those things from scratch? What do you mean by you don't know how to write proposal? You don't know how to, and you're not willing to learn. So make the most of the opportunity. So if you feel, I'm not sure, but I think I can, then that's fine. But let me also say this, crowdfunding works. Crowdfunding works. When you're starting anything, the first set of people that are very likely to invest in you are family and friends. And there's something I did not do during NYS that I wish I did, was also to take advantage of the funding opportunities for business. I wish I started a business during service here. I wish I did not allow that mindset of business is for a select people. Business is for people that are business savvy. I wish I started a business and even watched it, maybe fail and learned from it. So if you can, I'm not saying go and take for loan and put your father's house as collateral. That's not what I'm saying. But if there are small competitions, right? Oh, maybe a bank came to speak to you in camp and they say, oh, we have a pitch competition. Who has an idea? See, don't be that person that is overly analytical, sits down and says, the idea is not going to work. Why do they want to waste our time? Why should I put my time into it? Form the group, pitch the idea, be vocal about it, go ahead and make the presentation. The small freezer, the 100,000, the 200,000 that you win, it will come in very handy at a different point in your life, right? And if there's an opportunity to say, oh, we are giving funding to SMEs of maybe 20K to start small business. I know you don't want to do recharge card business, but maybe that's where you should start from, because it's really not about the business you do. It's about the skills that you learn, like the transferable knowledge. I know you're like, what can I do with 200K? My dear, you can sell egg. People eat egg a lot. I don't eat egg. I don't like egg. But you can sell egg, or you can sell shoe, or you can sell peanuts. CDS day, you prepare your peanuts and cold juice and go and sell. There's always something to do. So that's something I didn't do and I wish I did. So if you can invest more and try to be more business inclined and business savvy, that will also come in handy. Okay, I hope that helped Feishayo a bit and also answered Samsudin's question. Yes, it definitely sounds like a lot, but it's possible, it's doable, right? Don't put pressure on yourself. Don't be overly analytical about what you want to do and just go ahead and go for it. Any other questions on community development? All right, so just a tip. I like to say something by linking PPA and community development service together. If your PPA is not in line with what you want to do, so let's say I mean, some people don't know, right? Service here is maybe the time where you discover life, purpose, what you like, what you don't like, the kind of person you want to be, and all those kind of things. If your place of assignment is in line with your career, then you can do a CDS or try to pick a CDS in line with a skill you want to learn or develop. However, if your primary place of assignment is not in line with the career goal, so let's say I want to be a software developer and my primary place of assignment is school. Now it means when I'm choosing a CDS, I should try to choose a CDS that is tech inclined or somewhat close to what I want to do post service here. So I'm not just losing out on everything. But if for any reason you're in a situation where your PPA doesn't really align with what you want to do, your CDS doesn't really align with what you want to do post service here, or you're not even sure of what you want for your life, then the external activities that you participate in, right, in your everyday life has to factor in somewhat of what you want to do. And if you're not sure, then maybe the mentoring program is your next stop, is your best bet. So we have spent a little over an hour. Wow. All right, I'm going to speak briefly about this, give some general tips. I'm going to add house hunting tips. I spoke about house hunting extensively in the January webinar. The webinar replay is on YouTube, so you can please go ahead and catch that replay as well. So we are running an annual mentorship program, and we are starting this month. Yay! I'm really excited about that. And we've had some people enroll. The goal really is to provide, like I said at the beginning of the meeting, a safe space for core members to go through service here and discover themselves, find themselves, make the most of it, and come out amazing. So it would run for 12 months, which is 1 year. And because we are trying to start your journey with you and end your journey with you, we're focusing for now on batch A core members. So batch A stream 1, yes, you can still sign up before May 16th, and batch A stream 2, you can still sign up. I have gotten questions on people signing up from batch C, and for this particular cohort, I have made an exception. So yes, batch C core members are very much welcome. We're going to start, of course, before A stream 2 goes to camp. 12 months, 1 webinar a month, 12 modules, weekly check-in. You have accountability. No, it's not school. It's not school again. It's not school again, but it comes in very handy. So like I said about my NYSC journey, when I was preparing for service here, I didn't know what to expect, but I knew I wanted to make the most of it. I knew I did not just want 1 year of my life to waste. So I found a free book on NYSC, which my school gave alumni, which I read. I listened to people speak about it. I mean, there wasn't really much valuable information. It was either people ranting or wanting or the other. And at some point, I had to reach out to someone and say, oh, we applied for a competition, you won. I'm coming to your state, Lauren. What is the best? It's paid, it's not free. What is the best? But it's affordable, very affordable for a full year. So what's the best social impact organization or NGO organization I can work with, right? I had to ask that question. And then one day I just sat down in my room and I called my brother and I cried. So my brother was in batch A, I think A stream 2, and then me, I was in the next. So let's say my brother was in maybe 2021 A stream 2, and then I was in 2022 C stream 2. So there was just one day I called him on the phone and I was crying. And that meltdown was because I wish I had more information. I mean, I tried my best to do my best during service, but I wish I had more information. I wish there was a community to better prepare me. I wish there was someone I could ask questions about certain things, because I mean, All the questions you've asked today, they're amazing. We can go on for another 30 minutes or 1 hour, which we will not do, right? But at the end of the day, nothing fully prepares you for everything. Nothing prepares you for having to maybe write a letter about a core member that's passed. Nothing prepared you for having to understand the situation where someone was thumbprinting for another person or signing attendance for another person during CDS, not knowing the person they were signing for had died 1 month ago. Nothing prepares you for being a first-time classroom teacher and you're celebrating that they've brought light because there has been no light for maybe 2 weeks, and then your your student goes to charge phone and comes back crying that they just brought the cups of her mother to the house. Nothing prepares you for anything, right? I mean, as much as it's NYSC's life, but as much as there were those bad experiences, nothing really also prepares you to say it's possible for you to win 1,000 USD without having a registered foundation. Nothing prepares you to say you've never taught before, but you can be an amazing teacher. Nothing prepares you to say you could go to a CDS meeting and from having a conversation and collecting someone's number, you get to consult for a government official. So it can be really many things. And that's why I'm bringing back the annual mentorship program. So if you're somebody saying, I'm not sure of how it's going to go, but my life is going to make sense, then you should definitely sign up for it. Would I have done better? Yes, definitely. 100%. 100%. It would have been better. I can't even kid you. But yeah, we learn, right? We learn. So I'm not going to trade 1 year of my life to serve better, to do better. I made mistakes. I learned from them. I did amazing, and I'm lending my shoulder to people that want to stand on them, and learn from it. It will help you, right? Regardless of what you want to do. For the first cohort, we actually had just one person sign up, and I remember when I spoke to her, she said, oh, let me put it up again. She wanted to work as a chef. And I think it was funny for her and for me, because she was like, Tolu, you're mentoring me. I want to end up, working somewhere food related as my PPE. And everybody I've told have laughed at me. Well, she ended up getting that as her PPE, and it was amazing. What would I have done better? That's a good question. Again, I cannot answer everything. The best I can say is you can watch the free webinars and then you can sign up for the mentorship, right? Because even everything in the free webinar, like, there's a whole lot. That's just what I would say. And then you can also keep an eye for the book, because it was a lot. It was a lot. When I share what happened during service here and how it changed my life, it's a lot, honestly. It really is a lot. So I'm going to share a tip regarding accommodation, like I said, and then we're going to have questions about life. Because when you're not in your PPE, when you're not in your CDS, when you're not doing monthly clearance, you're still a human being. You have life, you have goals, you have visions, you have ambitions. What exactly do you do in that period? So the first thing I'm going to do is speak about house hunting. Thank you for staying 18 minutes extra. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And then we're going to get questions and probably call it a wrap for this session. So house hunting is important. And a mistake a number of young people make is we fail to learn from our parents' generation in certain things. Our parents' generation would always try, in the best way possible, to situate the house close to work as much as possible. I mean, except in Lagos. Lagos is a crazy place. So you have people working on the island and then they live in Ogun State. That happens, but it's not normal. So knowing your PPA, deciding on your PPA on time makes it easier for you to choose to settle. Now you have the option of family houses. So you could have a Christian or a church family house. You could have an Islamic association family house situated in different places. And you could also have just different associations having family houses. Now let me tell you something. I like comfort. I don't like stress. So when I was leaving camp, I went with Winners Chapel core members family. I don't know what it's called. I can't remember what it's called. My God. And they gave me free fried rice. Those people were so nice. Now, the reason I picked them is because of two things. One, their family house was close to where my PPA was, which was empty. So it was easy for me to go to and from. They were very friendly, very helpful. Now, two, They came in a bus with AC. Can you imagine? They came in a bus with AC when everybody's telling me coppers are suffering. So I followed them. How much was it? It was 1,000 naira for 3 hours ride. And then they took me to town. They took me to the family house. They welcomed us. In fact, they had a big pot on fire. They were cooking fried rice. They cooked fried rice, salad, and chicken. I was so tired, so shocked. I went to sleep, and they gave us dinner. Then later in the evening, they welcomed us properly. The next day, they told us that each of the older core members in the house would take us and show us how to enter public transport. So they would describe how to get to your PPA, what you're supposed to do, and they did. And then I think that day, just to get to NTA, I spent about 115 naira. Transportation was still very cheap. Subsidy had not been removed. There were places you could enter transportation for in Ilori, which was Kwara State capital, for 30 naira. There were places you could enter for 15 naira. So it was very beautiful. And then that morning, they even made boiled yam and fried egg for us for free with tea, and told us that that's the last free meal they are going to give to us. And then there was item 7. Then you could get a full plate with extra rice from item 7 with chicken for 900 naira. So life was good. Life was beautiful. However, one of the things I knew was I did not want to live with people during service here for different reasons. One, I love my personal space. Two, I knew that I was going to do great things from the corner of my room. So I spent 7,000 naira to buy a blue plastic table, and I spent 3,000 naira to buy a small handless plastic chair. And I told myself this way I'm going to sit down to have meetings from. But at the end of the day, my accommodation was very close to my PPA. So that was one thing. Now, there are situations where people have family members and they choose to stay with them. Of course, there could be restrictions in terms of the kind of demand of house chores, the expectations, the values, the way you're supposed to live, the church you're supposed to go to, and all of that. Eventually, I attended a local church, a local RCCG church, very close, checkable, very close to my house. But the choice about where you stay should strongly be tied to the proximity of your PPA, because your PPA is somewhere you're going to visit frequently, right? There may be situations where people's PPA could have hybrid work. So you come in maybe 2 days a week or 3 days a week. That's beautiful. That's amazing. If you have that, I'm very happy for you, right? But again, your PPA should be close to your housing or to your housing choice, because you're going to spend the most on transportation based on the frequency of how you have to go to work. All right, I think that's a very good tip. Any other general questions live during service here? And then we can call it a wrap for today. I'm looking at the comment section. I'm also looking at to see if there's any hand up. I'm not seeing any hand. Do you have any other question? Or any general question that I did not answer? If you don't have any question, I think we can call it a wrap. So we're going to skip bonus section for today, but you can catch that on the replay because we spent a lot of time. So thank you very much for joining. Thank you so much for your patience. Thank you for participating. Thank you for asking. And I'm sure that with the amazing things you've heard, the amazing things you have jotted down, service here is going to be an exciting time and an amazing time for each and every single one of you. If you have any other questions, you can ask them on the community. You can send a message on the Instagram or LinkedIn page. However, if there is a resource that extensively answers your question, I will go ahead and share that. We have 2 webinars or 2 replays. It's called Life in a Rural Community, where we actually interviewed someone and say, okay, you're in a rural community, not so popular community. How exactly is it? What's going on? What are you doing? What should other people know? So you can also check that out. I know you don't want to end up in a village, but I'm just saying, in case, I'm not praying for you to end up in a village, but in case it happens, you could check that. All right. So thank you very much and have a beautiful evening. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye.